What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the CotAcasT. My name is Brian Bermudez, and I'm the host of the Craft of the Air podcast. Podcast not just for aviation enthusiasts or professionals, but also those with a general interest in aviation. Join us on our journey as we explore the horizon of aviation together. I am just so glad that you guys are tuned in for another episode of the CotAcasT. It's a rundown, man. It's a rundown of the hot topics hitting aviation in the past week. We look at a short-staffed FAA urging airlines to cut flights, and they warn of possible summer disruptions in air travel. Oh, don't tell me this. Already, go look at the rental car rates. Don't even bother. Nah, you gotta listen first. We look at Virgin Orbit filing for bankruptcy and then cutting hundreds of jobs, and United Airlines and Archer Aviation, they announced an eVOTL air taxi possibly coming to us, a city near you by 2025. This is possibly coming to a city near you very soon. We dive into all these aviation topics. First things first, today's episode of the CotAcasT is brought to you by Craft of the Air. Stop memorizing outdated content you're not understanding or don't have enough time to study your aviation maintenance content. You're in the field of aviation and you're tired of searching endlessly for unreliable aviation data. Craft of the Air is a second you when you need it. Consulting by Coda has resources that will excel any aviation project. It will take a personalized approach to each client's needs by offering advice regarding innovative solutions and content to help you make confident decisions. FAA licensed professionals, aviation knowledge experts. Get it from Coda. And you're an A&P student, you test your airman's knowledge before the FAA A&P license exams and expand your current aviation maintenance knowledge. Cram by Craft of the Air offers aviation maintenance learning solutions that can support and help with your training school, FAA, and career exams. Tailored for you by a certified A&P subject matter expert. Visit www.craftoftheair.com. Again, that's www.craftoftheair.com today and speak with a federally licensed professional. Craft of the Air, our craft is of the air. So now, the big player here, the big airline that we speak about is JetBlue. And JetBlue, which already planned to reduce summer flights, their summer flight schedule in the New York area. And we should expect more airlines to follow. This is in response to the FAA's shortage and their lack of a sufficient number of air traffic controllers, and particularly to handle the seasonal air travel peak coming up this summer. Now, in an attempt to avoid congestion, delays, cancellations, and we know that it's plagued U.S. air travel. A very, very chaotic 2022 summer travel season, to say the least. Now, the FAA recently took a very, unusual step or stance, I'd say, in allowing carriers to temporarily vacate some of their allocated takeoff and landing slots at major Northeast hubs during the upcoming summer months. Now, airlines, they can leave up to 10% of assigned slots unused. And this is going, without the risk of losing them to competitors, the FAA says. Now, looking at JetBlue, such a large player here in the New York, New Jersey, area, such a busy area for air travel. Now JetBlue, they've already said that they're cutting flights in New York, and this is in response to that air traffic controller shortage. Now, Robin Hayes, JetBlue's chief executive, he recently told national media that, quote, the system is not going to be workable this summer, end quote. This is really going to the flight schedules and the region and how busy this region is. Now, airline operations to and from New York, they can greatly impact JetBlue based in the region. In March alone, the airline made nearly 6,000 departures in the region. Now, and it's a lot. JetBlue CEO Robin Hayes goes on to say, quote, we need to reduce flying and make sure we can operate what we've got, end quote. The FAA now, they indicated that they have an air traffic controller, a staffing problem. Now, what type of problem? To be specific, they're at about 51% of the staffing levels needed for the New York metropolitan area. Now, to be at a normal staffing level, the FAA says that it should be staffed at about 81%. And they're at 51%. So it's interesting. JFK, LaGuardia, EWR, Newark Airport, without those reductions at those airports by these airlines, it's estimated that roughly 45% of all flights in and out of the region, they could be delayed this summer. I mean, that is... Go rent the car. Go check the rates for the rental cars yet. The FAA, and it's not even worth the headache. The FAA and air traffic controllers, they've been under the spotlight. We've seen it coming up in the news weekly, if not on the daily basis. Several high-profile near misses and mishaps at airports around the United States in the recent months. Airplanes narrowly avoiding disasters at airports. Now, it's tough to say. This decrease that we have here, is it contributing to this increase in safety incidents in the United States? Well, throw it out there. Now, this removing of flights, the decrease in overall flights, all right, it's going to have an effect on very specific types of flights. Now, but specifically regional jets. And when we look at this, if we look at removing flights with smaller occupancy, such as a regional jet, in comparison to an Airbus A321neo with 222 passengers, that is a more... Pulling that regional will have more of a negligible impact on overall capacity throughout the New York metropolitan area. It's as opposed to pulling a bigger aircraft. Now, a Delta spokesman said, quote, Delta is reviewing our networks, ensure the best customer experience throughout the summer travel season, and we're committed to working with the FAA on measures to ensure the safety, efficiency, and operations at the New York, New Jersey airports, end quote. and it's interesting. Mike Arnett is an airline industry commentator and a spokesman for Cirium, a company that provides flight data, travel analytics, flight information to help airlines with scheduling and the aviation industry. Now, he says on this reduction, speaking on this matter, he says, quote, the recent cuts appear to impact routes between smaller cities to hubs, and in some cases, less flights between these major hubs, end quote. Now, he goes on to make a good point. From the airline's perspective, how many flights a day does the airline need to operate? We have 10 flights a day from LGA to Boston, from LaGuardia to Boston. Do we really need 10 flights? Or can we have 4 flights from LaGuardia to Boston a day and fill up a 37 MAX? What does it all mean for this upcoming travel season, and especially if you're looking at travel or anything like that? Arnett went on to say, quote, it means generally with flights that do fly this holiday season, they're going to be more full with fewer opportunities to upgrade, and higher fares, end quote. I mean, something to take a look out. Now, best advice going forward, you always want to take a look, ahead of advance. Always, and even looking further past the summer into, Thanksgiving air travel. That's something that, for example, you want to be looking at that around Halloween time to be booking to, Thanksgiving tickets, flight, air travel tickets, what have you. It's interesting because speaking on the whole thing, back in 2011, I know that's a while ago, but just to compare these numbers, the FAA had roughly 15,000 controllers on board, and that included trainees for air traffic controllers. Now, since then, by as of 2022, that dropped by 10%. Now, speaking on shortages, the shortages are not just pilots, not just engineers, but now air traffic controllers, or not just now, something that's been a topic. This was interesting because the House just proposed enabling something called a 529 fund, and a 529 funds for aviation career education options. This was last week. Now, this could be potential good news. House of Representatives introduced a bipartisan aviation workforce development act. Now, what they designed this for was to, stimulate training specifically for new pilots and aircraft mechanics, which is just incredible. Now, while ATC not necessarily, building part, this is a great advance forward towards filling the shortages that currently exist in the aviation industry. Now, the critical component of this proposed legislation is enabling potential aviation career seekers to use the tax advantaged 529 investment plans to fund their educations. It's amazing. Now, when initially approved, 529 plans, they'll only enable tax-free savings towards college tuitions and expenses. But over time, the list of educational options will grow, and that'll include vocational schools and apprentice programs. So It's interesting now, but to date, aviation career education, it's yet to be eligible for the 529 savings. Now, the IATA reported, and this was just yesterday, North American air traffic had climbed 67.4% to be exact. And this is in February 2023 versus 2022. Now, this capacity had increased about 39%. So this is, recipe for disaster. CNN also reported that they highlighted a story. And the title of the story was half of the world's 10 busiest airports for 2022 are in the United States. And we have an air traffic controller shortage and a pilot shortage and an aircraft engineer shortage. We gotta go on to the next. I gotta go on. It's sad. But Virgin Orbit, the company founded by British billionaire Sir Richard Branson in 2017, has officially filed for bankruptcy. Now, this decision comes after a failed satellite launch in January and difficulties raising, funding. And it prompted staff reductions. Now, the company says it'll continue doing business as it searches for a buyer. CEO Dan Hart said, quote, "We have taken great efforts to address our financial position and secure additional financing. We ultimately must do what is best for our business," end quote. Now, Virgin Orbit, they failed to complete their first satellite launch from Western Europe. Now, this was after a fuel feed. It was a fuel feed line. It dislodged, and it actually caused the engine to overheat. Now, a few months later, Virgin Orbit, they actually paused their operations amid the reports that, this was the beginning of signs of trouble, I'd say. Now, the company, it was looking for funding at the time. It was seeking, additional funding. And, the company had stated that they would cut 675 jobs. Now, 675 jobs is about 85% of Virgin Orbit's staff. Now, this would be, to reduce expenses. And this is after they were not able to secure funding. Now, Virgin Investments has committed about $31.6 million to help Virgin Orbit continue operations, and they really do need to look for a new owner. It's interesting because CEO Dan Hart seems to be called out by Chief Operating Officer Tony Gingiss. Now, Tony Gingiss, there was an email written on Monday, and it was obtained by CNBC. And amongst other things, Mr. Gingiss, the Chief Operating Officer, wrote, quote, "You deserve better than this," end quote. This is as he was writing a company-wide email on Monday. Quote, "You have been part of something audacious, challenging, and fulfillful, but you simply did not have the leadership or opportunity to demonstrate to the world what you can fully do, and how this product can be an enduring force in the market, end quote. Genghis, in this email, he appears to call out Virgin Orbit CEO Dan Hart, and although it's not specifically by name, at least he offers, an apology to employees. He said, quote, have not heard from the person who should be saying, I'm sorry that I was not able to convince our leader and our board to take a different path to give us more time to figure things out, end quote. I mean, it's a tough situation for everybody involved. Now the company was created, it's a subsidiary of Virgin Galactic, and this of course was founded by Sir Branson. This was in 2004. This was to develop, is actually to really develop commercial space travel. Now, unlike Virgin Galactic, which aims to really take paying passengers on suborbitable flights, and Virgin Orbit is focusing on launching small satellites into suborbit. Now, the company's main product is the Launcher One. That was their main product. It was a 2-stage rocket that carried small payloads into orbit. The Virgin Orbit has also been involved in efforts to support the COVID-19 relief efforts, and including using its expertise in 3D printing to produce face shields for healthcare workers. The company, they also partnered with the UK government to develop a new spaceport in Scotland. So, I mean, just so many things that, Virgin Orbit just recently was involved in. And it's a shame. It is just a shame. Virgin Orbit spokesman did not, immediately respond to requests for comments on the bankruptcy filing. But we'll, we always hope that, a good company comes in, a prospective buyer comes in, and, things work out, for the best for all of the employees involved. And with that, we go on to some really, this is really great news. I don't know what it is about United Airlines recently. The Oscar the Grouch promotionals. I just feel like everything that they post, social media wise, is just feel good, puts me in a good mood. It's good news, good stuff coming out of United, and particularly though, big picture here for all of aviation. eVTOLs. What is this? eVTOL. Try it 10 times. Do it now. eVTOL. The electric vertical takeoff and landing craft. Now, these are new crafts that we could potentially see coming to a city near us soon, by 2025. Now, startups from around the world, they've been building all new electrical aircraft. And these aircrafts, they're capable of vertical takeoffs and landings. So we refer to this as eVTOLs. And these startups now, they're calling them air taxis. One such concept of this craft, this electric craft that can vertically take off and land, has gained a lot of attention from United Airlines. And United Airlines, they actually plan to launch their first commercial flying taxi service in, get this, 2025. Yes, 2025. You thought I was going to say like 2020, like 2029 or something like that. United Airlines has partnered with startup Archer Aviation. Your company, you gotta keep a lookout for Archer Aviation. Good stuff coming out from Archer Aviation. Archer Aviation and United intends to put the eVTOL craft into service by 2025. Now, United Airlines, they've spent $1 billion on orders for the Archer Midnight. The Archer Midnight is an all-electric aircraft, and it's capable of vertically taking off and landing. Now, check this out. It has a range of 100 miles, and it has a top speed of 150 miles per hour. That's not too bad. How does United plan on using this thing? 100 miles? That doesn't seem too long. We can't go from New York to tropical vacation. We can't. What are we gonna do with this? Well, I'll tell you what we can do with it. There's so much that United is planning on. Actually, this is so smart. They're planning on using this Archer Midnight to fly it as a taxi service between Chicago, particularly O'Hara International Airport and Vertiport, Chicago, and that's a eVTOL base near the city and the medical district. Now, if launched in 2025, get this, that journey between central Chicago and the airport, O'Hara International, it'll take about 10 minutes. If you did it by car, it would take over an hour. Oof. That is just lovely. 10 minutes. Hop on the air taxi, the United Air Taxi, and you're at the airport in 10 minutes. No need to sit in traffic. Michael E. Skim, president of United Airlines Ventures, said that the new service would offer travelers, quote, a more sustainable, convenient, and cost-effective mode of transportation, end quote. Big quality here. Governor of Illinois, he said this initiative was, quote, paving the way for a more sustainable future for our state, our nation, and our world, end quote. Oof. Now, this service by United Airlines, they'll plan to launch it in 2025. It could be a glimpse. It really real right now that this could be a glimpse into the future of technology, something which may be able to expand and connect local communities to larger airports and cities. Now, electric vertical takeoff and landing crafts, they're new types of crafts, and essentially they use electric motors and batteries to take off and land vertically. The great thing here, you don't need a runway. Yeah. Now, unlike traditional aircraft, which they rely on jets and some piston engines and some aircrafts to generate lift and thrust, these electric vertical takeoff and landing crafts, they use a combination. And they use a combination of electric motors and rotors to lift off the ground and fly through the air. Pretty cool. Now, one of the main differences between these eVTOLs and a traditional aircraft is how they generate lift. That, conventional aircraft is really relying on the shape of their wings to create that lift, and that's then used to employ and support the aircraft's weight and keep it flying. Now, these electric vertical takeoff and landing crafts, on the other hand, they employ rotors, and these rotors, they can be individually controlled to create lift and actually maneuver the aircraft in different directions. Now, a critical difference in these crafts, as in comparison to a traditional aircraft, is the power. Really, a conventional aircraft is typically utilizing a jet or a piston engine that's burning fuel to generate thrust. Now, these eVTOL aircrafts, they're using electric motors and batteries, and this is powering these rotors. Now, that makes them a lot quieter, and they're much more environmentally friendly than conventional aircrafts. Traditional aircrafts, significant noise and pollution, so on and so forth. Now, overall, the eVTOL aircraft, it represents, it's going to be a promising new technology, and it's going to revolutionize at least the air taxi sector of aviation. It's, combining the convenience of vertical takeoffs and landings with the efficiency and the sustainability of electric power. The eVTOL crafts, the potential, they're safer, sustainable. So it's the way into the future, man. Now, Archer Aviation, that company, they'll hope to produce that craft by 2024, by next year. And they're hoping, they say that first aircraft should be built by that fourth quarter of now. Then they get to begin with the FAA on the certification process. But after that, I mean, we could see it coming to us sooner than we think. So that about wraps it up for this episode of the CotAcasT. Guys, if you have not done so already, check out the Craft of the Air website at www.craftoftheair.com. Again, that's www.craftoftheair.com, and get your free initial consultation today. Craft of the Air, our craft is of the air. Comments or suggestions about this or future episodes, let's get in touch. www.craftoftheair. Contact us and put in the subject CotAcasT. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the CotAcasT. Be sure to subscribe and follow the Craft of the Air Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel for the latest CotAcasT episode updates, and review and rate the CotAcasT, and streaming on Spotify, Apple, Prime, Pandora, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Like how there's no editing on this. That goes straight through this one take. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. We'll be seeing you in the